You are listening to The Unseen World. In this podcast, we delve into metaphysics, answer our listeners' questions, and cover topics like psychic abilities, divination, magic, witchcraft, the paranormal, and more. Step into the realm of the unknown today and join us at cocreationcoaching.org/unseen. That's cocreationcoaching.org/unseen.
Welcome to the Unseen World. This is episode 2, What Happens in the Afterlife. I am Brandon Oliveris.
And I'm Christina Oliveris.
I'm Justin Williams.
And we want to welcome you to our second episode of the Unseen World. We're excited to do another episode here. And we upgraded our system a little bit, so we have Justin nice and clear on the microphone.
Yes.
So that's good. So today we're talking about, obviously, what happens in the afterlife. That's our topic. Just anywhere from the moment you die all the way to when you get reincarnated. Not to spoil anything, but, reincarnation, all that kind of stuff. Everything in between. What happens in the afterlife and how does that all work? So that is our topic for today. And so first of all, a few announcements. The show notes, if you'd like to read the transcript or leave a comment on this podcast, you can go to cocreationcoaching.org/unseen002, and that will take you to the show notes. And a great announcement, I don't know if I told you this, Justin, but we are now on iTunes for the Unseen World podcast, so that's awesome.
Didn't know
I'm excited.
that.
Yeah? So
I knew, of course.
Yeah. So to get to iTunes, if you'd like to subscribe or rate or review us, that'd be amazing. You can go to cocreationcoaching.org/unseen iTunes, and that will take you over to our iTunes directory. If you'd like to ask a question, you can go to cocreationcoaching.org/ask/unseen, and that will take you to the page to ask a question. Again, that's cocreationcoaching.org/ask/unseen. All right, so to get started on today's topic, first of all, again, I want to talk about the afterlife. The moment from when you die. I think this is a topic that's not really discussed at length. I know there's a lot of near-death experiences and stuff like that, but it's just, there's not a whole lot in detail about, exactly what happens in the afterlife from the time, you die all the way through, especially once you move on completely and disconnect totally from your body, what really goes on. So that's what I want to focus on. Starting right after someone dies, it really depends on, first of all, the circumstances around their death, how exactly it happened, and everything like that. So, for most people, death is a pretty, I'm not going to say painless on the physical end, but as far as the transition is concerned, it's pretty quick, right? It's pretty easy. There's not much involved in it. It's not much is going on because the person either is expecting it, a lot of times people get a little advanced warning. Did you ever notice that, Justin? Like, people seem to have a sense about when they're going to die. Yeah?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Because you start connected to the other side easier. The veil gets thinner for you.
Right. And, like, for my grandmother, she died in 2011, and I don't know if she knew or not. I mean, she wasn't lucid enough to really tell us, but I know a few days before she died, she started seeing her daughter who died some years ago, just random people who had died, and she started seeing that. That happens quite frequently because you start transitioning. Your soul starts, I'm not going to say exiting the body, but it starts detaching from the body, if that makes sense.
I had a friend who, she was 100 when she died, and she never had any hallucinations or whatever. Like, she wasn't the type of person to do that. Right up until the day, was it the morning? I'm trying to think it was the morning that she died. I think it was, like, right before she died. Mm-hmm. And she said to her niece, is a certain dog gonna be okay? I thought the dog's name was Coco, but I don't remember. I don't know. But is a certain dog gonna be okay? I'm worried about him. And she didn't even think about it, like her niece. And she just said, oh, don't worry, he'll be fine, And she didn't realize that what had happened, that it was a red flag, And now at this point, this friend of mine was transitioning, but, nobody knew it. Mm-hmm. And right away, like right afterwards, she died. Like a little while afterwards.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that happens a lot. I mean, I always hear about examples of relatives or, people who, a few days before they die, they start having, these sorts of, I'm not going to say hallucinations, but they start having these visions of people that they knew that were close to them that died, and, as though they're waiting for them, and that's always a very common sign of someone's passing. So for most people, death is a very painless transition. I mean, especially when it happens when you're old, it's coming, and you sort of step out of your body, and your guides are there, and you go into the light, and it's all easy, right?
Some people also know around when they're going to die. I've heard of people that know right when they're about to die. Like, they could be healthy, and they just have that feeling, that intuition. Right. Mm-hmm. That no. My mom's ex-boyfriend, I think it was his dad or his grandfather, was 104 when he died. And he just was like, it's time for me to die. Yep. Literally. Yep. And he just said, you don't need me anymore. 3 days later, he died. Mm-hmm. That was the end of it. He just knew it was time. Sure. Just fascinating. Right, yeah.
So, for most people, it's pretty simple. Like I said, they step out, they go into the light, it's all good, they detach, they move on, they know they're moved on. They don't need this life anymore, and they know if their loved ones will be okay. For other people for whom it's sudden, it can be a bit more of a confusing process. I've heard of people who didn't realize they were dead for sometimes days. Yes. Sometimes probably even longer.
What was that movie we watched?
Yeah. What was that movie? It was about the mother was obsessed about limbo.
Yes.
And she thought her kids were, everything they did, they were gonna like go to limbo or whatever, and then it turns out they're all already dead.
Everyone was dead.
Yeah.
And her kids had this disease that they couldn't see light or something.
They couldn't be in the light, yeah.
Yeah. What was that movie called? I don't remember.
I've heard of ghosts, a lot of ghosts and things that, like hanging around, just kind of hanging around and not really knowing that they're dead for quite some time, months, and just thinking that they're still alive, but they're not.
Yeah, that happens.
Most of them don't do that. Most kind of transition over.
Exactly. Yeah, so if it's sudden, that can definitely happen, where it's very sudden, it's very confusing, they might not even realize it, and it might take, their guides sort of poking and prodding. Sometimes there are human beings who will help to cross people over, but that definitely happens, especially, with, let's say, a murder victim,
yes,
that's really sudden, or anything like that. Or
car accident victim.
An accident, yeah. Anything like that. So that's definitely possible. Now, it doesn't mean they're not earthbound, like we're going to talk about ghosts in a second, but they're confused, and they are, temporarily here in the, you would call it the etheric plane, right near the physical. Mm-hmm. But, they're not bound here. It's just that they don't realize. Once they do realize, then they'll cross over, and that's fine. But they just get confused. Now, there's, I would say, a third category of souls who are so tied to their previous life that they just do not want to move on. And so they will become what we would refer to as ghosts. Mm-hmm. Right? And So they would be, earthbound. Those kinds, again, it could be murder victims if they really want to see justice come to their murderer. Any kind of trauma like that, or any kind of crime like that, a victim of any kind of crime. But it could also be someone who committed suicide and who is just too upset to move on. They might punish themselves even in the afterlife. And again, that is their choice. No one is there forcing them to punish themselves. No one's doing that. It doesn't happen that way. But some souls might just not be ready to move on. Or if someone dies young and let's say, they're married and they really don't want to leave their spouse and they're so torn over it that they just can't cross over. So things like that. And you think of those common areas where hauntings happen, where a murder happened or where a war happened or things like that.
Plantations.
So, yes, plantations, absolutely. Slavery, anything like that. So that is very common, unfortunately. Now, in my view, and we talked about this in the psychic class, but in my view, they won't hang around forever. I don't think most ghosts hang around for hundreds of years. Because if you think of it, the ties that are holding them here within a few decades are going to be moved on themselves. Right? So
they'd have to have a lot of bitterness.
Right.
Yeah, they would.
Yeah. So most often when you go back to those old, like you said, plantations or battlegrounds or things like that, when you go back to those and it's haunted, usually that's not a ghost as much as it is an energetic imprint in the etheric plane of that traumatic event. It's almost a form of the Akashic Records, but just a very much lower level form.
So why do cleansings and stuff don't work when people do them?
It's a lot of energy. It's heavy. It's a lot to cleanse. It's not just like cleansing negative energy out of your house or cleansing a spirit out of your house.
Okay.
A lot of stuff happened. It's like a fog.
Right.
So it's just hard to get rid of it.
Right. Yeah, it's very major stuff. It's not so easy to cleanse that, and it could take a lot of time. But a lot of that is, you could call it energetic imprint, almost like a recording of a traumatic event that plays over again and again and again. And that's where you'll have the same things that repeat themselves. Every night this event happens. Every night this thing happens that people attribute to haunting. That's usually an etheric imprint, where it's not so much that there's a ghost there. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's more that, there's an imprint of some kind of traumatic situation. So that could be when people refer to a haunting, especially a haunting that's been around for centuries, or even many, many decades. That could be an energetic imprint, not necessarily a haunting. So I think that's a useful differentiation, because that can get confusing. So I outlined 3 different things that can happen once someone dies. So first of all, you could easily move on into the light. You could remain here for a short time because you're confused and you don't really realize you're dead. Or you could be so upset about, your passing and have so many unresolved issues that you just hang around here for a while. But even then, you can't keep it up forever. You can't keep it up forever. It's impossible. Those are the things that happen. Now, once you choose to go over into the light, and I would say the overwhelming majority of souls do that. Wouldn't you say, Justin?
Yeah, most do. There's plenty that don't, but most do at some point. There's spirits that hang out in graveyards. There's all kinds of stuff, but most are going to travel over. There's no reason for them to stay here.
Exactly. So once that happens, then you have what I call the second stage of your passing. Okay, so you cross over into the light. This is usually what people refer to, in near-death experiences when they go through the tunnel of light and all that kind of stuff. So you cross over into the light. You're met by family members who have passed, already. You're met by your spirit guides, angels, whatever is in your belief system, really. Now, first of all, the question is, and I think this is a really interesting one that deserves contemplation, does the afterlife alter itself based on your belief system? I've heard of people who say yes. My view is that as you are crossing over and you still have a good bit of memory of your previous life, of your just past life, that for a time it may meet your expectations of what you believed you were going to get in the afterlife, right? So if you thought heaven and singing angels and clouds and whatnot, you might get that for a time, Over time, though, your soul detaches from your previous incarnation. And you depending on how entrenched you were in that incarnation, how entrenched you were in those beliefs, you regain your memories of who you really are, because you really merge back with your higher self. Right? So at first, parts of the afterlife may do that, because there are a lot of near-death experiences where people experience very specific afterlives depending on their religious beliefs. Christians tend to experience
heaven and hell.
Mm-hmm. Hindus actually tend to experience something completely different. If you do near-death experience research, Hindus who have near-death experiences experience a totally different thing, where it's more like, someone comes for them, it says, who says it's their time, and they go, and there's like this, almost this clerk who's like, oh, there's a misplacement of paperwork, or it was misfiled, or, you're actually you don't belong here, you need to go back. And it's from what it sounds like, a very underwhelming thing.
Yeah.
Do you remember, Christine?
Yeah, I told you made a mistake, or I made a mistake. Bye.
Basically, yeah. So it's totally, there's no tunnel of light. There's no, there's nothing like that.
Social work guys messed up.
Yeah. They messed up. We met someone else. And a lot of times I've heard that the next day there will be in the paper, so the exact same name, but it meant someone else, as though like they got the wrong person, and then so they sent you back and they got the other person with the same name. So if there was another Justin Williams in, say, Washington or something, and he died, but they somehow got you instead, and you're Justin Williams. Oh, that's not the one we wanted. Oh, you can go back.
Not that guy.
And then in the paper the next day you'll see Justin Williams of Washington has died.
Man.
You know what I mean? Yeah, I've heard of experiences like that.
That's creepy.
I know.
That's creepy. The thing is, that's pretty bad. Well, it's all over there in the afterlife. So all of the religions are over there, and they get along really,
right.
And everybody's, Buddhists,
right.
Catholics, Hindus, Christians are all together doing whatever it is you do, because religion is only a way to identify with the divine. So it's all over there doing. They're over there together, and then when you come back out, you decide what religion you're going to follow, whatever else. But so it's whatever is easiest to transition you over is what's used.
Mm-hmm. And then after a while, like I said, I think you do regain the memories of who you really are, and then you see things for what they are.
Yeah, well, you definitely do.
Yeah, you don't stay in that Christian heaven or Hindu, whatever is their heaven. You don't stay in that forever. You might get that if you're expecting it at first, but then eventually you'll be like, okay, well, this is what's really going on, and so here's what's up.
If you're over there and you really want that heaven from a previous lifetime or 3 lifetimes before, you can always go over there and find it. You can always have it, but it's not anything that you gotta have. It's you start
right,
going,
exactly.
oh,
That's
okay, this is
once you're fully aware. Once you are fully aware of what is entailed, in all of this, then you can choose where you want to go. To some extent, that's where we'll go next. So first of all, life review. There are almost universal reports of a life review happening after you die. So that's one big thing that happens. I think this is where we get like the idea of judgment. It's not anything like that. That's sort of the egoic filter of, it's this big scary thing, that I could go be sent to hell or something. No, the life review is just really bringing awareness to your life and learning all the lessons you can from it from a higher perspective. Now, whether it's an organized thing where you sit down with someone and remember everything and see every perspective, or whether it's just gradually you gain your memories and you gain the higher perspective and so you just naturally go back and remember everything from a different perspective, who really knows? I think a bit of both, probably. But there's definitely a bit of a life review where you do remember things, and it's not just what you did or what you said, but it's everything else at the same time. What the other person was thinking or what the other person was feeling, what other people were witnessing, how it affected them. All of that is included in the life review. There's no judgment. Now, you might feel guilty. You very well might.
Yeah, you're kind of the judge. Really.
You're the judge. You're the only judge.
It's you, yeah.
Right.
And remember, you've got your full awareness of your higher self. So, whatever you got an absolute full knowledge of what happened and why.
Exactly. Right. You are not, going to be judged. No one's going to say, well, you have to spend 2 years in purgatory or something, you know what I mean, or being punished. No one's going to do that, right? There's only light, there's only love on the other side if you allow yourself to receive it. Now, there are souls who have entrapped themselves in a negative, in a negative sort of hell-like dimension, because they're so guilt-ridden, so judging of themselves, they just can't grasp any other option. That does happen, but no one sent them there. No one sends them there. And they can leave whenever they choose. And not only can they leave whenever they choose, but there are spirit guides and whoever else in charge of them who are constantly trying to get through and say, hey, look. There's no judgment. You're fine. You can come back. You can stay in the light. There's no reason to stay here, right? So their guides are constantly trying to come after them and get them to stop punishing themselves. There's no reason whatsoever. There's no karmic retribution on the other side whatsoever. From any account that I've ever heard from any medium or any psychic or any of my own experiences, it just doesn't exist. Okay? But you have to realize religion is filtered through ego, right? So even in some of the Eastern religions, they'll say you're punished for a time and you spend some time in hell for your sins and for your karmic attachments or your bad karma. I don't believe any of that's true. I don't believe that for a second. Any of that's true.
No.
That's just my opinion.
If anything, you could put yourself there, like you said.
But why would you
But
want
why
to?
would you? Well, yes.
So, since you have such awareness and knowledge,
right,
what happens is, a lot of times, you can decide you think you deserve that. And so that's what you mean when you say you end up, but you really aren't supposed to do that. That's why you get extra chances. I messed up and I was 21, I did this. When I was 15, I did that. When I was 38, I did that. Okay, that's why you get you get other chances. You come back and get it right. You don't have to
exactly.
Pay for it over and over again.
Right. Once you come back, that's, and it's not even still a judgment thing. It's
no.
Okay. This lesson came up. and I didn't quite handle it in the way I wanted to. So let's try this again. I always compared life to a video game, It's like in a video game, if you have that one really difficult level and you keep failing at it, it's not that you're punishing yourself by going back to it. It's that you say, oh, I really want to pass that level,
Yeah.
So I'm going to do what it takes to pass that level. And so you come back into a similar lesson so that you can try to do what you should have done. Should have is your own judgment of how it should go. It's no one else's. There's no God that's going to say, okay, you have to go and do it this way. It's going to be your higher self that says, well, I would have preferred if it went in this way.
Right.
Mm-hmm. It's not a judgment thing. It's just, that's how I prefer it to go. That's for my own highest growth. So that's what I'm going to try to do.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So that's how it works.
It's a highest growth thing. That's what it really says.
Exactly.
And remember, with full knowledge, you know absolutely that how much of it you did, and absolutely how much of it you want to do.
Exactly.
That's why you judge yourself. So I'd like to say exactly. That's why you're exact in your judgment. So sometimes you can be very harsh, and sometimes not.
Right. So those are the first stages. So we have the stage where you first leave your body, and that can go in a few different directions, like I said. And then you have your first stage in the light, where you are still getting acclimated to this new world. Basically, you might experience a bit of the afterlife that you expected. You might not necessarily, depending on how attached you were to that.
And how open you are.
And you're going to have a life review that shows you exactly what you did, why you did it, without any of the blinders on, which is really, really frightening.
That's what's so frightening. I like the way you said blinder. Because right now we got blinders on.
We lie to ourselves
all
the time.
You cannot do that over there.
Nope.
That's what's so frightening.
Right.
That's why it's so hard for people to hear the truth right now. Just imagine when you're over there.
Oh God.
That's all you need.
So that's the next stage. Now after that, in my view, you have a period of rest. Now the length of that period of rest depends on the soul. It depends on what your goals are. It depends on how attached you are to life in the physical world. It depends on a lot of things. But essentially, you're going to have a period of rest and recuperation. I've heard of even having further education on the other side.
You do?
Yeah, I just read an article today where someone said that, she communicated with the soul that said, oh yeah, I attend lectures over here. We talk about philosophy and all sorts of different things. And that he's learning even over there.
Yes.
So that definitely happens. Now, the period of that stage really, again, depends on the individual souls. So it could go on for months. It could be years. I think it's usually quite a while. Sometimes it's not that long, but it's usually quite a while, I think.
Yeah, it depends. Like, I know I've had several lifetimes, but you do keep lecture. You learn. You lecture.
Right.
What you do is refine your skills over there, and you come over here to actually grow. And you go over there to refine.
Right. Gain knowledge, refine, and then here is where you really put it to the test and see what happens.
Yeah, it's like there's a big classroom, and then here you go do it.
Yeah.
This is the practicum.
Yes.
This is the practicum. So there is a period of rest for sure. There's just a time where you need to regroup. I mean, you went through a whole lifetime, and especially if there's a lot of suffering, you just need to detach for a while and regroup. Regroup all of your energy. So, but the time will come when you want to reincarnate. Now, I believe this is generally a want. No one's forced into it. There's this weird idea out there, this weird conspiracy idea, that people are forced into reincarnation. People are not forced in reincarnation. None of this is forced. None of it. Okay? None of it. You want to, either because you want to have new experiences, or because you want to try these lessons over again, or whatever the reason might be. But you absolutely feel the pull to come back. You know, and I don't like how certain Eastern religions will talk about it in this way of, well, you're bound to come back over and over until you stop all desires. It's not a bad thing.
Or that, oh, you are a really bad person, so you come back as a dog.
Right.
I don't know if I believe that.
Right.
No, that doesn't happen. But the other thing is, when you can come back, or you can. The idea is to grow. That's what you're trying to do is grow your spirit, so you can, reach greater levels. Or sometimes it's your spirit, yourself is supposed to help. Say, for example, a certain world reach a certain point. So that's kind of your major assignment. But the other way you can grow is to become, I've heard of this, to become just a spirit guide. And you can grow by doing that without having to come back.
Yes, and that's where I'm going to go next, right after we talk about reincarnation. But yeah, that definitely happens. But yeah, definitely, you come back and you re-experience what you need to re-experience. You have new lessons, you have new experiences, new knowledge, new growth. It's a great thing. It's only at our low down level that we don't think it's a great thing. You know, but over there, after you've gotten some time to regroup, it's like, I want to go back. You know, it's like, okay, when you were in school, and by the end of the year, like, I want to get out of here, and you go home for the summer, and by the end of the summer, what are you feeling?
Restless.
Restless? Yeah.
Maybe you didn't.
Oh yeah, I did. Do you get that, Justin?
When I was as a kid, well, it was. What was I feeling? I wanted to go back and see my friends in school again.
Right. Yeah. It's like by the end of the summer, it's like, I can't wait to go back to school. It's gonna, that's how it is, sort of. So, you're here for a certain amount of time. By the end, you're like, I'm done. I want to, go home and just hang out and rest for a while. And then after a while, it's like, I'm ready to go back. I want new experiences.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's how it is, I think, in life, that by the time you are at the end of it, you're saying, okay, I want to get out of here. I want to go home. I want to regroup. And then after a while, after some months, after some years, you'd say, life actually is kind of fun. I get all these different experiences. I get to try all these things again. And so we have this desire to go back, even though, would it ever have you go back to school but by the third day, you're like, why did I want to come back?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But from the higher perspective, it's like, yeah, that sounds fun. I want to go back. I want to have this other experience. Let's try this in the video game. Let's play this other character. Why not? That sounds fun. So that's what it's like, and so we do. Now, eventually, that comes in another point. Eventually, you graduate. When I got out of high school, I didn't miss it anymore. I was done. Right?
Yeah, I was. Yeah, high school and college even.
Yeah, well, I other people might not know this, but I did not graduate college. I just sort of thought, I guess, dropped out. But once I was done, oh God, was I done. I was so done with college.
So you'll be back in college soon then.
No, I won't. Not in real life.
But no, for me, when even I got my master's degrees, I was done. It's like
you're done.
It's fun, but then when you're about
when you're done, you're done.
Process out. You look at I'm done.
Yep. So there comes a time that you just say, you know what? I've gotten everything I can get out of the physical world. Or, I'm going to take a respite for a very long time and maybe play spirit guide for a while.
Yeah.
Right? Maybe be someone else's guide or do something else. I mean, there are other jobs besides spirit guide. There are other jobs out there too.
Researchers. I don't know what else.
Maybe
now I'm going to look that up.
Well, if there are souls who are taking lectures, then there have to be teachers.
Yeah, so teachers. You can do
teaching those lectures, right? So there's all sorts of stuff you can do, right? So there are other jobs. So you might say, well, I want to do something else. Or, if you're really far enough, there's being an ascended master, right? I mean, what do you think Jesus does all day, or the Buddha, or any of those? I mean, they have to do something.
That's right.
So, but
what they do all day?
Well, they guide us on a mass level, not necessarily one at a time, but on a mass level, they're guiding us, right? So that's what they do. They group together and they use their energy to influence us to the positive. Or, inspiration. We were talking about inspiration in the psychic class. They come together and say, well, let's inspire them for this. Like we were talking about how a lot of ideas in history kind of happened to multiple people at once, and it was just one person who successfully completed it, like the airplane. Multiple people were trying at it, things like that. Calculus, I mentioned. So these different things that, we were inspired to do, I think that came from somewhere.
Yeah.
Obviously, it was a co-creation. Obviously, we had to work at it, but it came from somewhere. Might have been an ascended master. It might have been a bored spirit who was like, it's about time they got airplanes. He might have been, when I go back, I really want airplanes.
I know. You better go down there, Chuck. Yeah, they need to have some airplanes when I get down there. I'm tired of riding a horse.
Then they're a pilot.
California, man. It's ridiculous. Hey, Jesus, can you hook that up? Yeah, I got you, bro.
Oh, my God.
Right. So, yeah. So yeah, that definitely happens. They inspire, and they're probably sitting over there like, "Come on, you just need to put this part into place. Come on." And then,
just put that part into place. Why
is it so hard for you? Come on.
The Buddha's like, man, it's been 5 days on that one part.
All right, you know what? It's time to give them a dream, okay? We're tired of this over here. Let's give them a dream and
send them a dream.
Right. That's gonna have me laughing for days now. So,
oh my God.
But yeah, that definitely happens now. Where they're inspiring us to these different things. So there are tons of jobs. So your work's never done. Okay, even let's say when you graduate high school, you might go to college. When you graduate college, you might go for a master's, or you might get a job. Even that's educational. You're never done in the spiritual sense. You're always going to the next level, going to the next level, going to the next level, and there's always another level to get up to. So there's spirit guides, and then, like I said, the teachers and the ascended masters, and who knows what's above that. I don't think you're ever done. That's just my opinion. I don't think you're ever done. What if there's an entire new world other than this where we have even better experiences and very different experiences to this? There might be some spirits that are just for us, but there might be some that are for other things too, for other worlds, for other entirely different worlds. I mean, that's very possible. We just don't know these things. This is way too far above our comprehension, but the point is, I don't think you're ever done.
No.
I just can't comprehend. I mean, I know for me, if I were ever done, I'd get bored.
Yeah.
What is it that drives us? It's having something to work towards. It's having a goal. It's having, that next big thing that you're moving towards, whether that's in the physical or in the spiritual. If you didn't have that and you were just done, I mean, the purpose of the universe is for movement.
It's not stagnation.
Right? No. the reason that things were created, or you could say emanated, is for growth. Do you think the one, or whatever you want to call it, just wanted to sit there in stasis forever? Just a static blob? No. Do you think it will ever again? I don't think so. I think creation is an infinitely moving, infinitely growing tapestry. So it's always...
It never started and it never will stop.
Right. In a sense, it started, but then you speak of time, so in a sense, as long as time existed, it's been going on. So,
what is time?
Metaphysically speaking, it had to have started somewhere, but as long as you're speaking of something, you're speaking of time. So in the sense of that, it never will stop, and it never really started. So I think that we're always, always, always growing. That's my view of it. So just in summary, like I said, we kind of started from the very low all the way to the very, very, very high.
Yeah, we did.
It's good though, but essentially, you die, and you might hang out for a bit if you're confused, or if you're a ghost or something. Hopefully not. Hopefully, try to enter the light right away. And you enter the light, and you get met by your spirit guides, by your loved ones, and have that life review. And then you're just gonna hang out for a while, rest, recuperate, and eventually you'll be drawn back. Eventually you'll be drawn back to the physical. But after a very, very, very long time, you might say, you know what? I'm done with high school. I see the physical world as high schools in a sense. I'm done with high school. I think I'm going to move on to the next level. I'm going to become a spirit guide. And you could, you said this before, Justin, you could switch back and forth. You could be a spirit guide for a little while. And then, I think it's rare, but you could.
Because it depends on your actual mission, spiritual mission. Because there's mystic, there's travelers, there's mystic travelers and stuff like that. And I got to look back up on them. But they come from different galaxies to assist different worlds and stuff like that. Weird jobs out there.
So you could, be a spirit guide for a while and then go back and be a human again or whatever. But largely speaking, you're going to evolve from one to the next, to the next, to the next, Mm-hmm. So after you graduate from here, you go to the next level. You might help out in the human world, or from the other side by helping out the human world, the physical world. Right. And eventually you move on, and who knows? Who knows what you go to? We just don't know enough about those next levels. But one thing is certain to me, again, that it's always growing. You're always going somewhere new. You're always going to that next level. Because creation just would not exist if that weren't the case. That's the basis of creation. So that was a wonderful topic, I think, a wonderful discussion we had.
Yeah, it was.
So once again, if you want to get the show notes for this episode, you can head over to cocreationcoaching.org/unseen002. And if you'd like to ask a question, you can go to cocreationcoaching.org/ask/unseen. And if you want to learn about how you can develop your psychic abilities, we have a PDF download called 10 Easy Ways to Improve Your Psychic Abilities. So if you want to download that, it's free to download. You can just head over to cocreationcoaching.org/psychic download. So we appreciate everyone joining us today, and we are here every other Saturday, except for last week when I got all behind on my posting schedule. Then we were out on Monday, but happens. But next Saturday will be our other podcast, Co-Create Your Life, which is our Law of Attraction podcast, so feel free to join us for that. And then the Saturday after, we'll be here with the Unseen World again, so feel free to join us there. Otherwise, I am Brandon Oliveris.
And I'm Christina Oliveris.
I'm Justin Williams.
Anything is possible.